Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Samuel Kumar. I'm the training manager and AD manager for Hanwha TechWin, now called Hanwha Vision Middle East, and I will be your host and also your trainer today for the video foundation course. So we have close to 100 people who has joined this session. We'll wait in 30 seconds while I just set up a few things and we will start. All right, so a couple of things to understand and note. This is a 4-day course and it will be held roughly 2 hours per day with some time allotted for questions at the end. And after each day, a quiz link will be sent to you. A quiz link will be sent to you based on the topics that was covered each day. So if I have covered 5 topics, based on those 5 topics, you will get a question, and it is recommended that you attempt the quiz, and you will have 2 attempts for each quiz, and 70% is the passing score. Now, quiz is on one side, one of the criteria, but above all, attendance is a mandatory requirement for each day to be eligible for the certification. This course is also recognized for by Big C for 9 CEC credits. So you can use it to renew your RCDD certificate and so on. Let me show you a sample of the previous course that was issued. Let me pull that up. So it goes like this. It will have certificate of completion, your name, video foundation course with networking, the dates of the certificate of the training, and the training ID, and the Big C CEC credits that you can avail. And if you are also ASIS member and you have ASIS certification like PSP or CPP, you're also eligible to use this course for getting CPE credits. All right. Now, as per the policy of BICSI as well as the policy of ASIS, it is recommended that you attend the course completely. So through the webinar software, we can track your attendance, and based on that, our backend team will go through who has completed the training, who has attended the quiz, and then issue the certificate. It's not that complicated as it sounds, but it's a very simple process. This is the 9th session that we are holding in the last 3 years. We have over 1,000 plus of attendees who have benefited from this course. Okay, now um, when the certificate will be issued, uh, you can allow at least 30 days for us to process all this backend work. Because of the number of attendees, it can take a bit more time. Um, and how you will attend the quiz, I will explain to you around the break time. Let's get started with the course for now. Okay. All right. Let me send. Okay, so this course is brought to you by Hanwha Techwin, but now the company name is renamed to Hanwha Vision, Middle East and Africa. However, I have to use this previous former name for the sake of this course. This course is registered under our previous company name, so the certificate also will be issued on that. I mean, if you when you upload your certificates to Big C, you will upload it under our previous company name. So it will be this process for this entire year. But from next year onwards, when we renew the course, it will be under the new company name. All right. So let's move to the. All right. Okay. Good point. So if you have any questions at any point, feel free to type in the chat window. If you're not able to hear me, type in the chat window. Also, there is a question and answer window where you can type your questions. Um, After the session is completed, then we can open the microphone for asking live questions. That can be done during the end of the session. You can click raise hand symbol and you can ask your question. That will be after the training duration. Okay. All right. So all the contents is in the document is based on how I have interpreted and also how I have collected from the different sources. Uh, and this course has been pre-registered for this content with Pixie. So our assets. So um, at the time of preparation, whatever is the latest has been used for this particular training. Okay, now to introduce our company as we usually start, because this course is brought to you by Hanwha Vision and our company name is Hanwha. So we are a global Fortune 500 company. We are based in South Korea. We are over 70 years in the business and over a global revenue annually of $65 billion. This is Hanwha Group. And one of the subsidiaries is called Hanwha Vision, which we will see. Hanwha Group is focusing on multiple businesses over the 70-year period from aerospace, defense, recently in urban mobility and robotics, solar energy, hydrogen, advanced materials, which is the petrochemical division. Then we are also the official space representative, space exploration representative company for South Korea. The space launch vehicle, the moon explorer, satellite, all of them Hanwha has developed and contributed. Now, the security surveillance CCTV safety solution comes under Hanwha Vision, based in South Korea, Seoul. We are over 30 years in the business. We are expert in both manufacturing and research and development. Okay, and we own our product. We own our technology. We have a local team presence in Middle East and Africa, over 300 plus products. We are one of the preferred brands for the premium market segment. Okay. For anyone having audio issues, or if your friends or colleagues are having audio issues, uh, please use computer audio, okay, to listen to the webinar. You can also select the correct headphone or microphone or speaker that you're using for listening to the audio. Okay. This comes under the audio section. I know you cannot hear. Those who are not able to hear, I hope you can at least see the video to get an idea. So this is the way to activate your audio. Perfect. Today's content for training would be how to validate your brand that you will use for your project. Second thing, we will talk about camera basics. Camera, how it looks like, what are the components that are important to consider. Then, lighting technologies that should be considered when you're selecting your cameras. There are cameras specialized for certain lighting conditions. Then we will talk about resolution settings and how important it is for the coverage of a scene, what resolution impacts, how resolution impacts the coverage for the scene. And we will touch on the networking basics as today's topic. Okay. Now, as you might have seen, there is a handout session available in the webinar. You can download this PowerPoint. When we go through these topics, you need to understand some of the topics you may have a doubt, but that would be covered in day 2, day 3, and so on. So please um, wait till you we cover these topics when you ask the questions. I know many of you are raising your hand. I'm not sure, but please type in a chat message if you have any questions, and I will take it up immediately. And there is no need to type in your attendance. It is done by the system automatically. With the duration of your attendance is also marked automatically. Okay. Then um, we will cover, like we said, like we committed to you, we will cover from the fundamentals to the control room. So it will be covered in a step-by-step basis. And this course has been designed to help you to come up to speed for those who have not had the background of CCTV, or you have not had the time to invest and learn about the fundamentals of CCTV. So this course will help you to achieve the key important points in the shortest time possible. All right. So first thing is global ranking. Okay. The thing with global ranking, how do you specify your vendor? Let's say you have a project not for your home. Let's say your project with 500 cameras, 1000 cameras for an office, for a city surveillance, or it could be for a mall or a hotel. So let's say you have a project where you are responsible for identifying a CCTV vendor. The first thing that you could check, it's the global ranking of that vendor. Okay. So global ranking of the vendor. So when you talk about global ranking, when you could simply go to the third party sources. For example, you could find, let me pull out this, you could find companies like Fortune 500, Global Top 500. So these are ranked or ranking done by third party agencies for public companies, and they rank them accordingly in their division or as a global. So for example, Hanwha, we are one of the Fortune 500 companies. Honeywell, you will find, Schneider Electric, you will find. These are big companies that are under the global ranking. But the name itself is having its own reputation, right? Because you have seen these brands for a long term, for a long time in many projects, and in your region, you have seen these products installed successfully, doing well. So that is one way to quickly validate your vendor. Okay, to check for their global ranking. Next, vendor checklist. Other than global ranking, there is a couple of other points that we need to keep in mind. There is okay. Now back to global ranking. There is one more point about global ranking is you have to check whether the company is globally established. When we say global, don't think just US, don't think only Europe, think of your region also, your part of the globe. So if that particular company is also having a regional office, is also having a regional presence, maybe a couple of staff is based there, that helps. Okay, maybe nearest to you, maybe they are not exactly in a region, let's say Oman, but they are nearest in Qatar, or they are nearest in Saudi or UAE. So that gives you the comfort to a certain extent. Why? Because these products have been tested for your region, has been tested for the regional compliance, regional temperature requirements, and so on. Okay. All right. I understand there is a Wi-Fi concern. Okay, let me switch to a different Wi-Fi. Okay, so global company is to make sure that product is good for plus 60 degree as well as minus 20, minus 40 degree. That is a key requirement. Second thing is to ensure that the local needs, sometimes there are regional requirements such as regulations, municipality regulations or Ministry of Interior regulations. So that if a computer should if a company should have a local office, it ensures that there is someone voicing out the requirement of, for example, UAE, there is CERA regulation. So there are team here who communicate with the head office to ensure that the products are complying with a CERA regulation or Abu Dhabi regulation or Saudi MOI regulation or Qatar MOI regulation or Kuwait MOI regulation, right? So these factors also should be considered. Okay, next point, R&D team. Now when you work for a project and you are looking for a long term relationship with that vendor, then you need to make sure that vendor is having their own R&D team. Why? Because if you're just going to work for one project and you need in the future you need to upgrade your system, you must expect that vendor to provide you a transition, right? You must expect that vendor to provide you a transition to a new system, not discard through the old system and then jump to a new system with a different vendor. Okay, so a vendor with its own R&D team will help you in the long term. Secondly, you will also get the latest technologies for the investment that you put in for your CCTV. I can give you an example. Um, for example, today we have analytics from artificial intelligence. Okay, but you are hearing a lot about it today. However, the AI technology in cameras was launched in 2019, right? So let's say you are purchasing a AI camera today. Okay, let's say you are investing in an AI camera today and the vendor is still working on it, is not yet invested and developed a product. That means it's no use. You need to have a vendor who's already in the technology curve, is already ahead of or in line with the technology curve, so they have a matured latest technology product when you're working with them. Okay. There is one person who has messaged the sound is not clear. If I'm not sure if it is from my side or it's from your end. May I get a few confirmation if the sound is clear or I need to check something from my end? Okay, thank you. I got the confirmation. Um, my connectivity has been checked and it is connected to the most best internet I can at the moment. So yeah. Okay, so we talked about the global company, then we talked about R&D team. So sometimes there is one project where, uh, for example, the customer was purchasing and the brand did not have H.265 a couple of years back. So for that particular year, 2019 or 18, H.265 was already an established technology. All right. So when they finalized their project in 2018 or 19, if, for example, it was from another brand, so they did not have H.265. So uh, that that for projects, for example, the 2000, H.265 was launched in 2015 or earlier, I believe. So having a delay in releasing the technology has a good impact on your project. Why? You get 30 to 50% savings in storage. So if you have a project of 500 to 1000 cameras, you're recording 90 days or 30 days, you have a considerable amount of storage that could be saved if the camera had H.265, right? Same way, when it comes to analytics, a considerable amount of licenses can be saved because today analytics are on the camera end without requiring any license. Okay, so feel free to explore the latest technology with the vendor and apply that for your project. Next is a manufacturing plant. This is a good point to consider. Although it is clear not every vendor has a manufacturing plant, um, but let's say you want to customize a product. In that case, a vendor with a manufacturing plant is capable of achieving that. Um, Otherwise, it is not possible. For example, there was a project where the customer wanted to apply a microphone in the camera because of compliance, not because he wanted it, because of compliance of certain project. So we were able to customize the product to add that particular device. Also, they wanted external power supply in the camera. Now, today we use cameras with only PoE. So there was one model which had only PoE power, but the customer said, according to regulation, I need external power supply option, although it is not used. So we were able to customize, add it, redesign the product for that particular customer and issue. So this kind of flexibility allows you to uh, have some support from the vendor in the long term. Second thing, uh, in the last 2 years, there was a great shortage issue with many vendors. For us, we did not have that issue. We were manufacturing our own chipset, we were manufacturing our own lenses, we were manufacturing our own. I mean, some of the components we were developing our own software. So we did not have any shipping issues. It was still 4 to 6 weeks as usual. For the last 2 years, it did not affect. Okay. And also, second point, when one of our supplier, for example, there was one component when the supplier said due to COVID he cannot do it, we were able to do it ourselves or find an alternative and remanufacture our product with a different component. So all this strength is capable because we are manufacturing our own product. So that is something you need to keep in mind. All this, if you're looking to work with a vendor for a very long term and for projects which are recurring. For example, um, city surveillance projects, they are a recurring project. They keep on adding new roads, they keep on adding new cameras. Okay, it doesn't stop. So those kind of projects, make sure you have a very strong backup from the vendor. Next is training center. Okay, this is very clear. Everybody knows that only a vendor knows their product more, and they know how it's supposed to work and how it's supposed to be installed, configured, and what steps to do, so you can save a lot of time when you commission. right? How many times you have commissioned on your own experience and you ended up with one minor issue, and then you go back to the vendor and they say, you need to follow these steps. So it's something that how the product is developed. Okay, so having a training center is important. Please make sure that whichever vendor you're working with is providing training. Maybe they charge you, maybe they do it for free. That is dependent on the vendor. So please ensure that you get training, and it should be easily availed, right? You probably don't have to take a ticket and go somewhere. You can also avail online trainings today. So kindly ensure that there is a training program available, also a training center if possible, so you can go and experience the product before you start installing real time. Okay. So many things look good on paper, but when you experience it, okay, you have, each of you in the commissioning field may have 5 years, 10-year experience. The moment you touch the product, you know how it will work in the field, right? It's not only the paper. Sometimes when you start using the product, you know whether it can perform or not. So training and having a feel on the product will help you and save a lot of headache in the future. Next is local team. Okay, now local team is important because if you're working with a vendor who's having 12 hours ahead time, that means you have to work 24 hours. You will work in the daytime, in the nighttime you will do tech support, coordinating with the company in the US and then asking how to fix these things and so on. So try to have a local representative who will do that work for you at the back end side, right? You don't have to be always working 24 hours in that case. So having a local team speaking local languages is a great advantage. So especially for pre-sales and post-sales. Okay. Next is experience. This is a must. Uh, Easily you can consider today any vendor with 10 plus years of experience in your region is a good product, or in the nearby region is a good consideration. References, please feel free to ask for references in the similar field. Hotel references, city surveillance references, either in the same country or nearby country. Okay, why? Because yes, again, it is tested for that environment, tested for that end user requirements in mind, and if it is a very large project, you can also ask for a visit. You can visit another project, see how they're using it, get in touch with them, share their experience. Feel free to do that. Lastly, cybersecurity. This is a must today because you are providing a system to protect your stuff. You have to also now protect your system from cybersecurity attacks. Product should be robust in terms of how it is developed. The software should be developed with a good, um, I would say, compliance, good. I don't have the word right now. So there is a regulation or certification available how the software should be developed, and it should be in compliance to that. So there is a good backup. Secondly, the hardware should not have any backdoors, universal passwords. Those kind of things are allowing the camera. If the universal password gets leaked, then everybody can access the camera. So we don't want that kind of vulnerabilities embedded in the camera devices. Okay, today every vendor is taking great precaution for this, but please check and invest in a vendor who has got a good track record of cybersecurity. um, the consequences of which is only understood when something happens, when the camera gets hacked, when the videos are leaked, or 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 for example, someone uses your CCTV system to hack into third party systems in your project. So all this can be a problematic situation or a disaster situation only after it occurs. So try to take certain steps from the start. There are third party certifications available like UL CAP certification, secure by default certification. Then from the vendor end, there are chipset level certifications. Verify that and then proceed. All right, global offices, we can see that later. Vendor trainings. Now, to have some idea about vendor training, pre-sales training is one example. It's how to design a project. Okay. Uh, Frankly speaking, there are so many vendors available today for CCTV system, and every vendor they have their own product series, and an system integrator or an installer, and you cannot know everything all the time, right? So a train, even if you go through their website, you cannot really get the full understanding. So the training helps you to clearly understand which product series is the most suitable for a requirement. Okay. Now, vendor, let's say A has Q series. We also have Q series, but our Q series may not be a maybe a mid range, but for vendor A, maybe it's high end or premium range. So the word Q series does not is not the same across the board. Okay. Next. And for example, okay, next is configuration. How to configure it is called post sales training or commissioning training. So some vendors they have divided the trainings as pre-sales training and post sales training. So you can send the right people, the design team, to the pre-sales or the post sales to the post sales training. Okay. Post sales will focus on how to install the camera, how to set up the IP addresses and passwords, and how to upgrade the firmware, how to configure according to the local regulation for recording, viewing. All this comes under post sales training. But how to design, how many monitors to take, how many servers to take, how to calculate storage, that comes under pre sales training. Okay. Post sales training, what mounting options to do, how to mount, that comes under post sales. So we have both trainings available. Now a person can do both at the same time. It is up to him. If he has the time to spend for more than one day, he can attend both the trainings. But if not, you can only send the right people to the right course so they are knowledgeable enough to design the project. Now today vendors today end user, they are specifying, consultants they are specifying, saying make sure that whoever is supplying the CCTV system should have at least two engineers certified. Okay. Two engineers certified for pre-sales or post-sales. Okay. Even for us, Hanwa, we promote, we ask the consultants to specify that. We also want to partner with SIs who have at least two engineers certified. So these are the conditions that is being taken to deliver a good quality of service to the end users. Okay. All right. Training labs. Rough. This picture is just to give you an example. This is an old picture. A lot of updates have taken place after that. Just to have a look and feel of the cameras. You can see the guys here sitting, installing the camera, plugging in, and they have the NVRs set up, getting a good feel of the products. Okay. All right. Next is vendor manufacturing and quality process. Just have a look at the video, and then I will take it from there. Okay. So what all did you see? Did you see starting with the camera, the initial testings, for example, every camera that is being manufactured, it goes through 7 stages or 5 stages, depending on the vendor policy. The initial stage is to first gather the requirements and specify the camera, what all it should handle, how it should handle, what conditions it should operate in, and so on. And then they develop it, they test it, they go back again, they add some components if the testing failed, and again they test it, and so on. It's a cycle before the final product gets released. So here is a sample of a lab where you see these chambers for testing the camera reliability of in if the temperature increases above a certain level, if the humidity increases above a certain level, or temperature and humidity at the same time they increase at the same level. So these are called ALT testing, alt testing. Then there is halt testing. So some vendors, they test only temperature is increasing, then they close it, then they test only humidity is increasing. But some vendors, they test both, as well as they test both at the same time together, right? What if both of them go wrong at the same time? So these are certain points that is done as part of the manufacturing and testing, and they have a nice documentation uploaded on their website. You can download and check it. That gives you some insight on how the vendor is performing. Or if you get a privilege or option to go and visit the vendor facility, you will also be able to witness this live. Okay. Then there are tests that is done like drop testing, temperature testing. So here, drop testing. So what if the cargo person, it is not the responsibility of vendor, but during transportation, what if the RAM card or the chipset falls away? So you will get what? A dead on arrival camera, dead on arrival NVR. So sometimes when you turn up, when you unbox and plug in the server, it's no response, right? The screen is blank. Why? Because some card fell off during transportation, or when they um, maybe they accidentally threw the box, so it could happen. Then surge protection. What if someone accidentally powers the wrong power supply? Right? Will the camera blast off? So these are certain things that a vendor tests to make sure that the product, when it reaches you, even it goes through some accidents, it is still alive and running. Okay. What is the worst case scenario? If the camera is dead on arrival, then there is a lot of time for you to call. What is the process? How to return? So all this can be eliminated when that quality and testing can do a little bit of extra effort to make sure this product is in the same condition as it is shipped. Okay. Then of course image quality testing. This is diverse. Every vendor has their own method, own programmers, own software developers, how they define imaging. So this is something that you have to witness to see. But generally, yeah, how good it can differentiate the color, how good it can reproduce the color, how good it can perform in daytime, nighttime, and different lighting conditions. These are the things that they go through. Okay, next vendor references. I've just put a few sample references from us, but you can ask a vendor. Okay, uh, large project references, system on chip. Okay. Now let's look at what makes the camera. All right. So I have a question. How much is high temperature on camera, fixed or PTZ? High temperature is subject to your region. If you, when I first started out in CCTV, we did not bother anything about minus temperature in our region because we know it's not going in minus. Second thing we did not bother about is waterproof. That is when I started. Okay, but today it is raining in our region, so waterproofing is must. All this is taken care, right? In our region, even rainwater drainage system was not existent when I'm in here for over 23 or 24 years in UAE. So all this were adapted to the current condition. So how high is high? I don't know if this is what you're asking, but generally they test it for uh, 60 degree. Okay, 55 to 60 degree is what most of them test. But when I started out, it was up to 50 only. But today they are testing based on our requirements, 55 to 60 degree. Then usually minus 40. Some regions they test up to minus 60 degree. Then, uh, however, in our region, Middle East, there is some requirements called, or there are some places where it can exceed 60 degree. So there is a standard, sorry for that, NEMA TS2 standard, which says that the device should handle up to 74 degrees. Okay, 74 degrees. But okay, there is a condition, not for 24 hours. It is not possible that the sun and the temperature is there and it is maintaining at 74 degrees all the time. Okay, you can do this experiment yourself. Just watch how the temperature is going in your thermometer. Um, during or in your computer, you can check. So from morning, let's say it starts from 35 in our region, especially here, 35, from 30, 35, 37, 40. As it becomes afternoon, it becomes 45, 46, 47. By the time it becomes 12:30 to 1, it goes to 47, 48 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Then some regions it can go up to 49 degree, 50 degrees. Okay, so that is around the afternoon time. And as then when the time goes further from 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., again the temperature goes down back to 50 degrees, 47 degrees, 40, 45, 44, like that. So there is a peak hour. In the peak hour, let's say, even if it goes to 74 degree, there are products tested today that it should handle up to 74 degree for the peak hour. It can be 2 hours, it can be 4 hours, but not more than that. Okay, so that certification is called NEMA TS2, and that also the vendors are testing either in their head office lab or they are doing the test locally because it's a local requirement. They have a local heat chamber. There are testing agencies. They get certifications from them. Okay, but if any vendor tells you my camera can handle 75 degree 24 hours, you must have a double check. Okay. Um, but during peak hours, yes, there are vendors who have products certified. So the highest that I've seen is 74 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's the highest temperature. Okay, next is camera body. When you look at a camera, there are different components that go into the manufacturing of camera, right? The body of the camera. Again, most of you might, if you have already attended this training, you might be aware. But if you're not, this is good information. There are multiple types of camera body: plastic, metal, stainless steel. Plastic is used for indoor application. Okay. The reason why plastic is used for indoor application is, let me just see here, see if I can pull out a picture. Yeah, let's take this plastic housing for indoor. The good reason is there are no visible mounting screws. Okay. Now, if you look up in your ceiling in your offices, you see your lighting fixtures. You don't see any screws. You don't see any visible screws, right? That is called, aesthetically it is pleasing. That is possible with mostly with plastic housing in cameras. Okay. Next is metal based. Also in metal based there are options, but it can be more cost. That's why you would find mostly plastic based for indoor housing. Okay, and in indoor plastic is more than enough. Next is metal based. Metal based is good for outdoor installations. Okay, two reasons. One, definitely vandalism. There could be some kind of stones, or there's some kind of vandalism against the camera, and the camera should withstand it. So metal housing is important. Secondly, UV, ultraviolet, UV degradation. If you keep your plastic housing outside, it will lose its color. Whatever color it is, due to UV, it will start losing the color. Sometimes, if you leave your clothes outside, let's say a dark blue color shirt, if you leave it outside for 2 3 days, it will start to fade. Same thing can happen. So, usually, metal housing is preferred for that reason. The UV degradation is much lower. Like your car is made out of metal, right? Not plastic. So you can just think of that, but it still degrades over a long period of time, but immediately it doesn't lose its color. Okay. Next is stainless steel. Stainless steel body is there are two reasons why people use stainless steel: to have more resistance to corrosion, resorts, sea areas, okay, facing salt water, or always a humid, rusty environment. Factories, food factories, they prefer stainless steel. Okay, sometimes when you go to kitchens, you see all stainless steel. There is a reason for that. Same way, cameras also can be stainless steel. Now you can also use plastic. Plastic also can withstand corrosion. So you can also use plastic. Some vendors, some people, they use plastic, outdoor rated plastic, to reduce the cost compared to stainless steel. Certified housing. What is a certified housing? Um, okay, let's have a quick look on this stainless steel. So stainless steel housing, you can see these, the same camera body, but with stainless steel finish. Okay, then these are metallic finish. You can see them. They have visible screws. They are based at, usually aluminum is used for the construction. Okay, and a good protective paint is applied. Rust resistant paint is applied over the camera. Next, certified housing, ATEX housing camera. Now these are ATEX rated cameras. You can see they are stainless steel, but a little bit more rugged. Okay, they are also referred as certified housing. Reason, they are certified by third party called ATEX or IEC, ATEX certification or IEC-EX. These are two bodies that certify. You can see here ATEX is only for countries in EU, and IEC-EX is applied or accepted globally. Okay. There are two different bodies. Simply, there are two different certification bodies. They are certifying whether the particular device is suitable for using in a very strict environment. What is this strict environment? Oil and gas, offshore. So these are hazardous environment where in the atmosphere there is some amount of gas. Okay, so a small spark can cause a big explosion. Same thing, uh, mining, coal mining. In the atmosphere, there is coal dust, minute dust. A small spark can cause a big explosion. So, to avoid that, the devices used should not cause this explosion. Okay, they are called intrinsically safe, explosion proof, which means these devices, first of all, they will not cause any explosion or any spark outside this unit. Okay, inside the unit, if any spark happens, for example, inside this camera housing, maybe some small spark occurred and a small explosion occurred, it will be only within the housing that explosion will be contained. It will not explode outside. So maybe if it explodes, only that camera inside will explode and it will stop. But it will not, that spark will not come outside. It's called intrinsically safe. It does not cause an outside explosion. Okay, so if it does, then whole thing will explode. So these are certified housing. It is a mandatory requirement because unless and until you have these certifications, you cannot start the project. You cannot even ship the product to that particular project. Okay, next is the bubble of the camera. The bubble of the camera can be standard bubble or vandal resistant. Today's standard bubble is not very common, but you can still find it. Vandal resistant bubble. Vandal resistant means um, let's say I think we have some testing video. I cannot recollect. Okay, let me pull out this video. Internal. Just allow me a minute to open this. Okay, while it's loading, let me explain the points. Vandal resistant means if a person, vandalism, right? If you, when he wants to steal or when a theft is occurring, if he looks at the CCTV camera, he wants to break the camera, or either with a hammer or with something else, right? He wants to break it. So how much ever a person effort he can put, let's say as a human being, I cannot move a mountain, right? But I can move, maybe I can break a car. I can break the glass of the car, but I cannot break a mountain. So how much ever capacity I can do, there is a rating for it. That rating is called IKTN rating, 50 joules. So that much of energy that I can use to break a camera, that the camera glass can break. The camera glass should be designed in such a way that it should withstand that. Okay, it should withstand that energy of impact. So here the guy taking a stone and he throws. Again, watch this video. So the guy is taking a stone and he's throwing it. Okay, a normal glass bubble breaks, but if it's a polycarbonate, you can see his impact. He's just throwing it with the same force. It withstands. You can see another example. Glass with the hammer breaks. With the hammer again on the glass breaks. What about polycarbonate? It is withstanding. Okay, so they are both glass materials, and I'm sorry, they're not both glass materials. They're both used for bubble for the camera. Okay, so standard can break, vandal resistant can withstand. Done. If the camera is a reachable height, you must use vandal resistant. If the ceiling height is very less, you must use vandal resistant. If the camera is installed outdoor, you must use vandal resistant. Next is fixed lens, varifocal lens, and zoom lens. Fixed lens. Okay, so let me take an example. Okay, now mind. Okay, so here I have a camera where it's looking at the door. fine. And but I need to remove the the meeting room area. I want to zoom in and zoom out. I want to focus only on the door. Okay, so if you want to do that, the lens of the camera should be adjustable. You should be able to zoom in and zoom out. If you cannot do it, in that case your camera should be physically relocated. Okay, let's say I put my camera here, it's looking at the screen, it's looking at the meeting chairs, looking at the door, and the person entering through may not be clear. So if you want to physically see only the door, if you want to only zoom into the door, the camera lens should be adjustable. If it is not adjustable, you must physically move the camera closer to the door. Okay, so having said that, uh, camera lenses are referred to as focal length, and they are written in millimeter. Okay, lower the focal length, wider the angle of coverage, higher the focal length, the more distance you can see. Okay, the more far you can zoom in and see. Okay, lower the focal length, the more wider you can see. Longer the focal length, the more far you can see. Okay, now think of this way. Back to the video. I think we'll take a break shortly in 2 minutes after this topic. Okay, let's go back to this. If the focal length of this camera is 5 to 50 mm, 5 mm to 50 mm. So at 5 mm, the angle is wide. I can see the camera is mounted on the left side. I can see some chairs and table and so on. But if the camera is more than 5 mm, if you increase the zoom lens, in this case, you start to lose the. Okay, now I cannot see the camera, I cannot see the chairs, I cannot see the monitor, so I have zoomed in, right? So there is a benefit and pros and cons. The more you zoom, the more coverage you lose, but you can see the far distance object clearly. Whereas the more wide you see, the more value you get for your money, because the more area you can cover. So the more area you can cover, the lesser the camera you need. Okay, one camera can cover this room. Happy, right? So now you need to consider some conditions. We will see that in the coming slides, like identification, recognition. We will see that later. Okay, so that's about for the first till the first break. So we'll come back and continue. See where we are. Okay. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break and we will resume the session. After that, we will touch on the remaining topics. Okay, let's continue. All right. So fixed lens, varifocal lens. Fixed lens means the camera lens is fixed at 5 mm, 3 mm, or 6 mm, and that's it. So you have to position the camera correctly. For example, mostly customers use fixed lens for wide angle. Okay. Now you look back here, and if you see the scene, the camera is kept at the widest angle. Okay. So the same way, maybe, let's say, imagine this is your waiting area, this is your lift lobby, or this is your general monitoring. You want to cover as wide as possible. So when you say as wide angle as possible, you want the lowest as possible. That means lower the more wider the coverage. I believe you remember the other slide which I was talking about. This one. Okay. Yeah. Lower the wider the angle of coverage. So if you take any camera, you will see the focal length mentioned as here, for example, 2.8 to 12 2.8 to 12 So, or it could be 2.4 So when you take a fixed camera, okay, the best example is to take a live example. So here is a fixed example, 6012. Let me open this camera. You can see the focal length is 2.4 built in 2.4 fixed focal length. Okay, 2.4 Okay. Now come down. The horizontal angular field of view means coverage. Horizontal, we only focus, or as much as possible, we focus on the horizontal field of view 135 degree. So if you take a room, a rectangular room that you want to cover, so if you take, sorry for that, let me take a room. If you take a rectangular room, so let's say like this, and you keep your camera in this corner. I keep my camera here. So this angle is 90 degree, right? This angle is 90 degree. So if you keep your camera at the corner, you can easily cover more than that. So you can, if the room is even wider, you can cover wider. So generally a camera giving you a wide angle of 90 degree is a good camera for indoor. But if you're covering outdoor area, so you want to cover more wider, it's not a room, so you're covering a park or you're covering some areas, more wider the angle is good, but not too wide. Okay, we'll see that later on. So roughly speaking, any camera having at the lowest for example, I will take back my data sheet of this. This is an old camera, just taken for example, 2.8 it can give 109 degree. Okay, 109 degree field of view. So at the 2.8 109 degree is good. It can cover even if I put in a room, it can cover more than 90 degree. So most of the cameras customers they install, they want to cover as wide as possible. So that's why fixed lens is still used. It's still used inside a lift, inside storerooms, in every lift lobbies. Okay, but not in the entrance, because in the entrance you want to focus on the door. You want to zoom in, zoom out, you want to focus on the door. All right, when you're looking for number plate, you can't use fixed lens. You want to zoom in and zoom out and make sure you're only covering that, you know, car entry. So those areas we use adjustable lens. You need adjustable lens from 2.8 to 12 or more depending on the area. Okay, now I'll give you an example. What is the best adjustable lens? So here, this camera has 2.8 to 12 mm. Okay, at 12 mm, it is 26 degree. At 12 mm, it is 26 degree. Okay, second. Okay, so let me take one live camera. Let's save this one. Okay, so this is a nice wide angle, right? The camera is at the other end of the wall, and it can see, till this room from left to right till the corner it can see, and it can also see the as wide as possible. Okay, done. Now let me go to the settings and focus setup. Now this is a varifocal lens, so I am allowed to zoom in. I'm allowed to zoom in and zoom out as I please. Okay, as I require to adjust on the as per the scene, I can do that. So here I'm only looking for the entrance door, so I can zoom in as much as possible and only focus at the entrance door. Right. So this option is called adjustable lens, and um, as I zoom in, you can see the angle of view, the view that I had previously. I could see the other corner of the room. Everything is gone, right? So most of the customers, they want to fix the camera and they want to see as wide as possible. They want to see the entire room, they want to see the entire garden, they want to see the entire lobby area. So they use the lowest focal length available in the market to cover as much as possible. Okay, so that is fine, that is acceptable for those locations. But if you are looking for specific recognition, I want to see the face, I want to see who's entering, I want to see the number plate, then you need adjustable lens. Second point, if you don't want to see, for example, if you don't want to see some other people's property, you don't want to see outside the street, other road traffic area, you don't need too wide angle, you will focus and only on your area. So in that case, you need adjustable lens as well. Now, as much as possible, try to go with adjustable lens because it gives you flexibility what you want to focus in the real time after you install the camera. Okay, next is a zoom lens. The objective of zoom lens is, let's say, so here, when you want to zoom very long distance, okay, more than 100 meters, more than 100 to let's say 500 meters, you want to zoom in and you want to capture the details of the car or a person, then you will use a zoom camera. These camera or zoom lenses, they are quite big. So they usually come in a bigger sized cameras called pan tilt zoom cameras. Okay, what is a pan tilt zoom? So right now I zoomed in and I zoomed out. So you can see I'm zooming out almost a kilometer now. And then I can also, so here I saw a car moving and I want to see the number plate. So I can click on that area and it starts to zoom and I can see the number plate. And I can even move the camera left, right. So I'm moving the camera to the slightly to the right. Okay, one more example. Zooming in, I can move the camera as I please. So this is called pan, tilt, zoom. Move up, down. This flexibility is available in pan, tilt, zoom. I think you know this. Um, You can see 6550RH. This is our pan-tilt zoom cameras. They are not small. They are quite big size, used outdoor most of the time. There are also indoor pan-tilt zoom cameras used in data centers or in a large storehouses, warehouses. They also use pan-tilt zoom cameras indoor. Okay. All right. So for what there's a question on the CERA regulation. In the CERA regulation, you can use zoom cameras. For example, XNZ. There is one model like this, XNZ 6320. These are not pan tilt, they only zoom. Okay, they are fixed cameras. Okay, we can check the new model later. Okay, so these are zoom only. Why do they use this? Because the mm is 142 mm. Now, when we do the identification recognition criteria, we will see why you need this kind of zoom lens. Okay, it could be, in a very large warehouse, you want to monitor the entrance. Okay, but if you to mount the camera, you're mounting the camera maybe at 50 meters away from the entrance. 50 meters or even 60 meters away from the entrance, very far from the entrance. In that case, you need a very big zoom to capture the entrances. So imagine an airport hangar, let's say an Emirates flight airport hangar. Okay, they're painting the aircraft. Okay, or they're doing a maintenance on the aircraft. Yeah, okay, that entrance will, I mean, that warehouse will not be small. That will be very big, and the entrance, of course, also will be very big, and the camera will be mounted on the other end of the warehouse, okay, and zoomed in. So when you have these kind of exceptions, then you use these fixed lens with zoom, with a very high zoom. But otherwise, we don't see a use case for them. Mostly PTZ cameras, yes, because you can go left, right, up, down, and investigation. You can use PTZ. Okay. Why PTZ cameras are useful? If you want to track a person, you want to track a car. So I was trying to chase a car, follow a car, or you have a VIP, you want to follow that person. Any public property, and you are expecting VIP guests, you're monitoring a very large area, especially city surveillance. We cannot put a camera every 10 meters, 15 meters. You have to put every kilometer. But if an incident happens, you want to zoom in and see what accident happened, what is the current situation. You want to zoom in, right? So their PTZ cameras are very powerful. They can reduce the cost because one camera is enough for a kilometer. And with the zoom lens, you can do this. Next is a brain of the camera chipset. Okay, simply put, chipset dictates the capability of the camera. Okay. Okay, there is a difference between varifocal and zoom lens. Zoom lens, they focus immediately, and the lens structure is very complex compared to a varifocal lens. Varifocal lens, the lens construction is very simple. Zoom lens requires more mechanisms. So we can see that later on online. And yeah, there is a question on edge storage. Yes, our PTC cameras, they have a SD card option also. Okay. Then brain of the camera is the chipset. Okay, very simple. To put in a very simple way, the camera has to observe the scene and apply the image settings. The camera has to look at the scene and apply analytics, detect motion, tampering, and so on. The camera has to observe the scene and do a proper compression. Just because the scene has too much detail does not mean a camera can take whatever bandwidth it likes, right? If it takes 100 mbps, you need 100 times more hard disk than a camera which takes 1 mbps for the same scene, right? Your end objective is you want to cover the scene completely and with good detail, but a camera should not simply take whatever bandwidth it likes. So that there is a processing required to compress the image, right? It's called encoding. Okay, encoding requires processing. Same thing, applying WDR, applying image enhancements, all of them require processing. Doing analytics real time requires processing. Then all the processing should happen again real time, in the sense you're looking at a person, you cannot wait for the camera to adjust the focus, adjust the WDR settings, and adjust any other image settings. Wait for it to compress. You cannot do that. Immediately, every second, it should send 25 frames per second. So good processor is very important to manage or to run that. Whatever, you can have a very good developer, but uh, you cannot still, let's say you have a i3 processor, there is a limit how many applications you can run, how big a file you can open, whether you can run 3D drawings and so on. There is a limit, right? So it depends on the software as well as the hardware. So this is the chip system on chip. This is where the money lies. This is one of the main points where many vendors are trying to save cost. Okay, for example, I don't know if you remember, there was a time when you require in let's say here Dubai itself. Okay, you need 2 megapixel camera, one 2 megapixel 25 frames live view, another 2 megapixel 15 or sorry 12 or 10 frames for recording, right? Let's say that means the camera has to provide one stream live, so it has to process and send one stream live, another stream at different frame rate for recording. Some vendors were not able to do it because they can only give one stream 2 megapixel, but again they cannot create another 2 megapixel stream because the processor was not capable. Then there was another requirement where three streams. Okay, some vendors they can do one stream, two stream. Then the customer also said, I need one more stream for maybe the multi monitor viewing. Okay, half megapixel you wanted, but cameras can only provide two streams. Again, that depends on the chipset, right? Let's say we have projects with 4K. So you can take one 4K 30 frames, another 4K image, you can take another, if you want 25, 30 frames, you can take, or 10 frames you can take. So that capability we can do because the chipset is capable of doing that, process that image and stream two separate independent resolutions. Okay, maybe one 4K, another 5 mega, 15 frames. So both should be independent resolution. So you have the flexibility. Okay, again, let's say Qatar. For Qatar, okay, let's say recording is 1 megapixel. Unofficially, now they want 2 megapixel. I heard. Okay, so maybe the customer wants to invest in a 4K camera, okay, and he wants to do live view 4K visible. The operators get to see live view 4K, everything is fine. But recording, he wants to record only as per the regulation, maybe 1 mega or 2 mega. So the camera should be able to provide another resolution of um 2 megapixel or 1 megapixel. For Kuwait, 3 megapixel is the recording regulation. Okay, so maybe the customer bought a 5 megapixel, but he should not be forced to record only 5 because he will end up having more storage. So you can have the option in the camera to give live view 5 mega, but record separately in another resolution as per the 15 frames, another stream. So that flexibility should happen in the chipset. Same thing, analytics. Today, cameras are running analytics in the from the edge. So there were limitations before. Some vendors they can only run one analytic or two analytics at a time. If you run motion and tamper detection, and that's it. You cannot run a line crossing analytic, or you cannot run intrusion analytic. Not possible. But today you can run if the chipset is powerful. Uh, I can take our example. We can run 15 analytics all at the same time because the chipset is capable of doing that. Okay, so your software may have 15 analytics, but can you run all 15 at the same time? That depends on the hardware, which is the chipset. So if you there is a question, how many can you do in Hanwha? We can do more than 15 analytics. All can be running at the same time. If you take AI camera, you have 15 plus AI analytics, and all of this is running on the chipset. So you don't need license. It's all from the camera itself on the edge. It's called edge-based analytics. Next is software. Okay, we saw this. Camera software, let me give you an example. So, okay, I will take an example of this camera. So here, go to analytics. You have here shock detection. You can run shock detection. You have motion detection. Under motion detection, you can do 8 zones. So this is zone 1. You can you can do zone 2, like that. You can do multiple zones, and all zones can be active at the same time. You can adjust the level of detection. You can adjust the sensitivity, how long it should take before it triggers an alarm, which area to exclude. Um, this one we will see in the third day session, common settings and so on. So then tamper detection, if someone is blocking the camera, defocus detection, audio detection, if someone is screaming, someone is shouting, there is a sudden noise, spike in the sound, gunshot detection, all this related to sound, all of them running on the camera end. Similarly, there is, if you are doing edge-based analytics, again with AI, you can detect a person, you can detect a face. Okay, let's say if in this area, if a person is walking in, it will detect. Okay, I can see a face. Is a male? Is a age group of so and so, and all that you can activate. Okay. Then vehicle detection, you can detect the type of vehicle. Then line crossing, you can draw a line, you can draw up to 8 lines. Each line you can customize what to detect, whether line number 1, okay, let me draw another line. In this line, I'm only interested in person detection. I can draw another line and I can put a direction and say if anyone is coming in my property, if any car is entering, any type of car, or if any truck is entering, I need an alarm. So all this, everything that we just saw, this is area. In this area, no car is allowed to park. So you can say car is not allowed to park. Something like this. So you can draw multiple zones, 8 zones. Then we have slip and fall detection and all this. So you can appear, disappear, IVA. So all this combined, you can run everything at the same time, real time. Okay, so that is dependent on the chipset. Okay, and you don't need separate licenses for this because it's on the edge. It's done on the camera side. It is, you can use it with our VMS, our NVR, third party VMS, third party NVR. No need for separate license for the analytics because it's all embedded. That's called edge based analytics. Okay, so yeah, here one of you asked for face detection. You can detect a face. Yeah, it is possible. All right. Next is the software. Okay, the way you interact with the camera. This is the software running. This is our software running inside the camera. Live view from the web page. You can achieve the live view. You have option to take snapshot. You have so it is saved in the images file. You can record on your local PC. If you want to do a demo recording, you can do a recording. It will save in the VLC player uh, without any plugin. I don't have to download any software. I don't have to do anything. It's all in the web page. That way we develop the software for the camera. It's a very seamless. You can open in your Chrome browser on your phone or in your laptop or any laptop. You can have access to the live view, but first you have to log in. Yeah, I logged in already, and then you can access to the camera, you can access to the SD card, you can access to the settings, you can see the profile settings, you can control how nicely you can do. That depends on how good the customer has or the vendor has developed the software. Okay, if it is too complex, difficult, you need a lot of learning. There is also help option inside. You get to see, okay, what is the settings to be applied for each. Explanation is here and so on. Okay, this is one software. Then there is the third party application software that should be running. It's called ONVIF. ONVIF. It's a global open industry standard. This is also running in the camera. Okay, why? For integrating with third party. Maybe there is a new company, VMS company. Let's say I'm starting a new VMS company, or let's say I am only an analytics company. Okay, I cannot develop my analytics for each brand. I will only develop based on a common interface for getting the video. Okay, any camera that is supplying video can give a live stream or record, or I can access the camera settings through a global standard called OnWave. So every Hanwha camera runs both its own proprietary software as well as it is running the OnWave application, so anybody can connect to the camera. Then of course the camera can be powered with extra features like built-in microphone, alarm input and output. So you can, what is the purpose of that? You can integrate with a relay contact. Maybe you want to trigger, get an input from a perimeter sensor, or you want to give an output to a third-party sensor or a door or a gate barrier, um, IR illuminators to see in night time. So all these extra accessories or features that you add to the camera, it increases the usability. Okay, USB. Let me give an example. There is one feature in our camera called USB dongle. You can plug, uh, you know, an installer can purchase a Wi-Fi dongle. Okay, and then he doesn't have to call someone and say whether the camera is focused or carry a laptop. Okay, he can do it directly from his phone. The camera will become like a hotspot. He can do the adjustment. Okay, he can remove it and he can go to the next camera and do the same. All right, so only these are installation features. Then there are many other installation small features. We can see that later. Okay, what are the OnWave profile available? We have a separate topic for OnWave. We will come to that. We have S, T, G, and M. There are four main profiles. We have them available in our camera. Okay, then there's one more topic for today would be the IP66. IP rating. Okay, IP66. Okay, the first number is for solid, second number for liquid. So if your camera is IP60, that means it is not waterproof. If your camera is IP06, it's not dust proof. Okay, so it should have both numbers. Highest is 6 and 6. There is more, 67, 68, but as a minimum for our region, okay, let's focus on the fundamentals. It should be dust tight, 6. Okay, done. Protected against 6. Powerful jets of water and heavy seas. Powerful water jets. So if even if you spray water on it, for cleaning, for any other purpose, the camera should withstand. So that means it can withstand against rain. So any camera which is IP66 is good enough for our region. Okay. Okay. Now looking at the camera, there are many components. First, lens. Lens receives the light. Okay. So the glass that you see, that's the lens that is receiving the light. The lens captures the light and it falls on the sensor. Okay. Here is a short video to show. This is the sensor inside. You see the small silicon chip inside. This is the sensor, and in front of it we connect the lens. So lens captures the light and the light falls on the sensor. The sensor converts that into electrical signal, translates it into electrical signal, then comes all the processing. Once the processing is done, then it is getting coded. The coding is done to digital format, right? H.264 coding, H.265 coding, and then it is streamed on the network to your computer, to your NVR, and so on. Okay. Now, the sensor, image sensor, there are two types, CCD and CMOS, but today you'll find mostly CMOS. When CCTV first started, analog cameras were there. That time CCD was very common. Okay. Today CMOS is used because less power consumption and better image quality as well today. With all the developments that is available in CMOS, it is now commonly used. Even all the mobile phones that you have, you open the data sheet, you will find it is with CMOS lens. Simply put, megapixel cameras you will find in CMOS. Out of 1,000 cameras, you might find one or two cameras still running CCD on a megapixel, right? So very commonly used is CMOS sensors. And today cameras are PoE, power over Ethernet. So it is depending on the switch. So as low power it can consume, better for the camera. So CMOS is preferred because they are PoE powered. Mobile phones, they depend on battery. Again, as low power they can consume, better for them. Back in the day, analog day, we were giving dedicated power supply for each camera, or our telephones were probably, or whatever, things were directly powered back in the days. But today, no, they are powered over, they're portable. So need a more power efficient device. CMOS is power efficient. Okay, then we have a few important topics. WDR. Okay, WDR. Wide dynamic range. Now, when you have a camera looking at a scene, and the scene has got two types of lighting condition. Okay, simple. Uh, how is lighting measured? Lighting is measured in lux. So you, let's say you have a lux meter and you put directly below the light, it is around 700,000, that level of lux, and you put it under the table or near the sun. Okay, just watch, close to the sun it reaches easily near the window 10,000 lux. Okay, great. Now when I put it under the table, the light level drops to 30, 40, 20 lux. So light is measured in lux. Higher the lux level, higher the brightness, higher the light. Most of the offices are only running 200 lux. Uh, that is the standard because you have to pay for the light. Sunlight, no one is paying for it, God is giving. So sunlight is easily 10,000 lux, 200,000 lux. Okay. Now, when you have two different lighting conditions, okay, take the ratio. If your indoor lighting is 200 lux, outside is sunlight is 10,000 lux minimum, your light ratio is 500 is to 1. So for every 1 lux, there is in the same scene, the light at the background is 1,000. How do you understand this? Okay, look at this scene. Indoor office 200 lux or 100 lux, outdoor 130. Okay, sorry for that. So here outdoor, the sunlight is around 10,000 lux. Okay, now the camera is not a human eye. It is copying a human eye, but it's not a human eye. So the camera can either do one thing. It can focus on, I mean, it can only understand whether the scene is too bright or too dark. If the scene is too bright, it will automatically close its iris. Okay, close its eye to capture the light. So when a camera is looking at this too bright sunlight, immediately it closes its eye and you can see the image is very dark. Okay, now look closely here. The image is very dark. Okay, but what's the benefit? You can see outside the window, the buildings, you can see some details outside the window. However, if you force the camera to open its exposure to receive more light, outside the window you cannot see anything. Inside, now you can see the person, you can see some details about the person and so on. Right here you could not, but now you can. So a camera can do any one at a time. It can either open the eye or close the eye, right? You can, even you cannot open and close the eye at the same time, right? So you need some other way to handle it. Okay, so what the camera does, it takes two pictures at the same time. First it will open completely and take the details inside. person is very clear, then it will almost close but not entirely. It will just allow very little light to enter so it can capture the outside image. So in the first scene, it will take only this detail where the inside is clear. In the second scene, it will only take the outdoor, and then it will merge both and give you a single picture. So this is what a WDR camera does. A WDR camera is a multi-exposure camera. It takes multiple shots, different exposures, combines them and creates a single image. All of this it's doing in the back end. You will not even realize. When you ask for 25 frames, when you ask 25 frames, it is actually capturing 60 frames. It combines every two and finally gives you 30 frames. Okay, sorry for this. It's okay. Here it is capturing 120 frames. So it is combining every two frames and it becomes 60. So after WDR, it can still give you 60. But most cameras don't give, some cameras only. So most of them can give you 30 frames. So that's why you will see WDR cameras are capable of giving up to 60 frames. Once you activate WDR, they will switch to 30 frames because they will combine every two frames. Every frame is one exposure and give you 30 frames. Okay. So the benefit with the WDR, now you can see even here you can see the zebra crossing was not clear. But with the WDR, it is very clear, even outdoor. Okay, so a person standing outside can also be seen clearly. Okay, this is an old video which I've taken. Once I activate WDR, okay, without WDR, you see the window is too bright. Window is too bright. Okay, so according to the camera, the scene is too bright, so it will reduce its exposure. So the inside the office, it looks slightly dark. Once I turn on WDR, now I can, oops, once I turn on the WDR, now I can see the outdoor through the window. Now I can see if someone is standing outside, I can see even the indoor scene is slightly more brighter. Okay, so when you have two different lighting conditions in a scene, you need WDR. Simple. And if the difference in the lighting in the scene is too high, contrast is very high, outside is 10,000 lux, inside is only 100, 200 lux, then you need WDR. But if you don't have contrasting scenes, if your scene is a fixed lighting, maybe there are no windows, you're just covering inside a room, storeroom, or you're just covering inside a lobby area, lighting is fixed, you don't need WDR. Okay, done. Okay, so there are other words for WDR called BLC and electronic WDR. These are all manual method. Okay, um, you tell the camera which area is having exposure setting, which area is having high lux, which area is low lux. All these are fake methods of doing WDR. uh, that is not a real WDR. Okay, a true WDR means automatically the camera knows where the brightness is, how much of WDR to apply, all that the camera does by itself. So uh, that is the real WDR scene. Okay, now what is 80 dB WDR? Let me just give you a short example. 80 dB is roughly speaking above 80 is considered as a WDR, but today you must consider at least minimum 120. Okay, when WDR first started, 80 86 was considered as okay, but today as a minimum, please consider 120 dB as a true WDR, or ask for the vendor, is it true WDR? Okay, not just WDR, true WDR. What is true WDR? Multi-exposure. True WDR means a multi-exposure camera. It takes two frames, a two different exposure, combines it and gives you a single frame. That is a multi-exposure. There are electronic method of doing, simply increasing the brightness here and there. That is not a true WDR camera. Okay, and those may be less than 120. Sometimes they might even fake it as 120. But thing is, you cannot manually keep on adjusting the settings in a normal W or a non-true WDR or electronic WDR requires you to keep on adjusting the setting. Why I'm saying this automatic is required? See, sunlight keeps on changing direction. Okay, you cannot tell which area will be bright at which time of the day. If you know exactly where the sun is, you can adjust the setting manually and leave it. You can do electronic WDR and fake it, and it's fine. But when you have the sunlight direction keeps changing, the intensity keeps changing, the object shadows keep on changing. So in that case, you need a camera which will automatically adjust, and that is done through a true WDR. Okay, uh, let's say lux level is, I'll take a example, zero point 0.1 lux. Okay, because of shadow. A shadow is zero light, right? Maybe there is a person standing in the shadow and there is sun. How do you capture? Okay, let me give you one example here. So here, let's say the person is walking. If he's walking here, maybe the sun is on the other direction, so it will cast a shadow. So in the shadow, if he's walking, you cannot see. So camera will not see anything. It will think there is no person, right? So you need, in that case, a camera which can handle that two different lighting condition. There is too bright here, and there is a shadow here also. You can see complete dark inside, outside 100% light. So you need two different scenes. So if you put a camera indoor and is looking out, the camera will be confused. Is it dark? Is it bright? What should it do? So you need WDR. Here also, entrance. Outside there's a lot of sunlight. Inside the hotel, decorative lighting or ambient lighting is calm. So camera is confused. So you need, when you have two different lighting conditions, you need WDR. Okay, if you take zero point 0.1 lux and the sunlight is let's say 100,000 lux. What is the ratio? Higher number divided by the lower number. The ratio is 100,000. Okay, now if you take the log value, log, I'm going to mathematics, log value, log of this 6 to the base 20, log to the base 20. Okay, 6 into 20, 120. So log is measured in decibels. Okay, why did we do this? Because it's easy to measure in this value rather than mentioning in the datasheet the ratio 100,000 is to 1. So they use decibels. Okay, so 120 dB. So if the scene is having as dark scene as well as contrastingly there is a bright area in the same scene, the camera, that scene requires 120 dB. So camera should handle a contrast of 120 dB. Okay, so that is how it is considered. And how it is tested? It is tested using a chart. You can see here. Okay, I will take this example. Okay, here, this is, I don't know which company, but you can see every, this is a bars of white and in between there is a black. Okay, black is 0, white is pure light, right? There's good amount of light. This is the actual chart. Okay, this is one camera after performance. Every bar you can see, the camera can see every bar and the dark spot in between, dark line in between, that is 20 dB. So 20, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So every, sorry, not 20 dB, 6 dB, number 6. So every bar of white and black that it can see, that is considered as 6 dB capacity. So as it goes higher and higher, now at 18 to 19, the ratio is very less. You cannot really see the black color line in between. It is as good as the white bar itself. So if someone is standing, if the camera is handling a contrast like this, um, it cannot differentiate between a white and a black. It cannot differentiate between a person and the background or the light. So here 18, roughly till 18, it is very clear. So that means this particular camera is 18 into 6, 108 dB. This particular camera passed through the Xyla chart up to 108 dB. It is very good. So it is rated for 108. If it can clearly see up to 20, then it is 20 into 6, 120 dB. So this chart is used for measurement. Okay. Some vendors use different type of chart. This is just one model. Okay. Okay, we just have 5 more minutes. We will see how much we can cover today, and the rest we will cover in the coming days. No problem. Some topics are short, some topics are long. Some of topics you require more details, so we'll cover accordingly. All right, so rest of them are straightforward. Highlight compensation, HLC. WDR means wide dynamic range. Wide dynamic range. Wide dynamic range. That what is dynamic range? The range of light, too high, too bright, and too low. It's a dynamic means it keeps on changing, and it is wide. The difference is wide. Okay, so here the light difference between outdoor and indoor is wide. It's a big difference, and it keeps on changing. That's why it's called wide dynamic range camera. Highlight compensation, it's the opposite of WDR. It's still related to compensation in the sense the background is too dark. Suddenly there is a car with headlight, so it has to mask that white light, because it's like, imagine yourself, uh, you sleep in a dark room, and when someone turns on the light, immediately you feel some pain in your eyes, right? Your eye is adjusting, you find it too much disturbing. You close your eyes with your hand, and then slowly your eye is adjusting. Same way for the camera. When the camera is looking at a dark scene, and suddenly some object comes with a bright headlight, the camera gets disturbed. The exposure settings get disturbed. So in order to avoid that disturbance, there is a compensation factor called masking, highlight compensation. It just masks that bright area. Okay, so the nearby objects are not affected. They call blooming effect. Nearby pixels are getting affected because of too bright scene. It just happens for that immediate instant when the car is coming. Okay, low light. Low light means there is light, but not enough light available. Okay, so that is a low light. For that we need a low light camera. We will talk about this later. I think we have covered enough for today in terms of the content and the topics. um, so this is day one. Each of you will get an exam link. Okay, it's a very basic quiz. Whatever I covered, maybe there will be 5 questions, 6 questions, multiple choice, just to revise what we learned. Okay, so I will not call it an exam. It's a quiz. Uh, and you have to attempt that quiz. You can attempt anytime. You can do it today. You can take 1 week. It's okay. So till next week, Wednesday, you can attempt the quiz as you prefer. Okay. Recording is available. I will also be sending you the recording link with the email, quiz link and the recording link. Please try to attempt it. Just open the link and see. It will be very easy. I want you to attempt it as well. Okay. So we will come to the rest of the topics tomorrow. Uh, Backlight compensation, f-stop, all of these will be covered in the coming days. Okay, I know we are a little bit short of the topics, but no worries, we will cover them in the right time. Thank you. If you have any further questions on the topics that we covered today, please feel free to post in the Q&A, or if you want to unmute, you can also ask. Otherwise, feel free to disconnect anytime as you like. Thank you all for your message. Welcome. We'll catch up tomorrow. Yeah, the quiz link will be emailed to you. Um, by end of today, it will be emailed to you. It will be like a simple form. It may be a Google form or it will be another quiz link. I will send you by email to take the day one quiz. Yes.